KCM Wealth Management. They've given away over $60 million since 1988, and no, they are not the Vancouver Foundation, and no, you've probably never heard of them. But let's change all that, because you ought to know what they're doing. It's awfully good work, and I love it. It's the Real Estate Foundation of British Columbia, and the current chair of the board of the Real Estate Foundation is Kelly Lerigny, and she's here with us in the studio. Hi, Kelly.
Hello,
Great to see you. So let's just do, let's do a Maria von Trapp. Start at the very beginning.
Oh, I don't want to sing.
Okay. Sing us what's the opening tune? How did this begin? Whose idea was this? Where does the money come from?
Okay, well, in 1985, a group of real estate brokers approached the provincial government with an idea.
Oh.
They saw a funding source that was currently untapped, and it was the accrued interest on pooled trust accounts that sat in their real estate brokerages.
Okay.
So if someone was making a purchase on a home and they made a $10,000 deposit on that money put into trust,
yes,
that interest
yes,
could not be held by the broker because they're a stakeholder.
Right.
Couldn't be held by anyone else except the bank.
It doesn't go back to the person doing the deal?
It can if they ask for it,
okay,
but for the most part, these transactions are 30, 45 days long only before they close,
right,
and not a lot of interest individually. But as a pooled account all across the province on all the real estate transactions held by brokers, it adds up.
Wow.
So in 1985, the provincial government enacted through the Real Estate Act legislation that allowed for those funds to be put into the Real Estate Foundation, a new organization.
Yeah, nonprofit society.
Nonprofit society,
yeah,
for us to distribute for real estate and land use across the province.
Wow.
So 1988 was our first granting year, 3 years to put some money together.
Right.
And in 1988, we started giving out grants, and to date, as you said, over $62 million has been given out for good work across the province.
Well, let's talk, this is an interesting way to approach it. Let's talk about what you don't fund, because this isn't about cancer. It's not about children with rickety legs. It's not about school programs, or it could be about school programs.
It might be.
Yeah.
Really, the mandate's quite simple. It's real estate and real estate land use activities. So very broad mandate. Now we've got different areas: education, law reform, research, and other activities that might be on the peripheral of that land use.
Right.
Over the years, we've really started to look at sustainable land use as, you know, it's not just the catchphrase, but it was making sense where those activities would have the highest impact for the province. So it could be a school program.
Yes.
If a school was doing, and we have funded some schools that have been doing some innovative urban farms on school grounds.
Yes.
And creating an education component.
Or building a school with a green roof, or.
Well, we actually, and that's where we don't primarily focus anymore. Bricks and mortar are very expensive and not replicable. We're looking for things that have sustainability, that can be scalable. So we would fund perhaps the coordinator for that program.
Yes.
Or the research to go, what is the best approach for that?
Well, if you've given out 62 million since '88, what does that parse out to? 2-3 million a year?
On average, last year was 2.7 million. It's been as high as 6 million in the boom years of real estate.
Wow.
Well, you know, it's all based on what's the interest rate out in the marketplace that those monies are collecting, plus the number of transactions.
And how do you come to be the chair?
How do I come to be the chair? Well, our board of governors.
You're a real estate agent.
I am a real estate agent in Chilliwack.
Yeah.
Our board is made up of 5 governors, 3 from the real estate profession, sort of to honor the beginning people. So 1 from the BC Real Estate Association, 1 from the Real Estate Council of British Columbia, and 1 from the Real Estate Institute, and then 2 public appointees that the government appoints to our group. So I am the BC Real Estate Association's appointee. And then I'm...
But you've been involved for years in other capacities.
with the Real Estate Association
Yes.
For a great number of years, and now just 3 years now with the Real Estate Foundation.
And our mutual friend Eileen Smith, was she chair at one point?
Yes, she was. She's just the immediate past chair, actually. So I'm trying to fill her shoes. Trying.
Well, yeah, because she's a pretty amazing gal.
She certainly
and
is.
has done wonderful work.
Yes.
But I saw you perform, if we could call it performing, about a month ago at this terrific dinner. Ed Begley Jr., is that his name?
Yes.
Ed Begley Jr., the actor, was a guest speaker. He did a wonderful job. And you gave away a bunch of awards. It was an awards night, right?
It's an awards night. It was our 3rd annual Land Awards Gala.
Yeah.
And we're really looking to celebrate great projects that are happening across the province.
Yes.
Across different sectors. They don't have to be grantees that we've done business with. In fact, there's a private sector, and we don't fund the private sector. So, you know, but it's a great chance to celebrate, and also we hope to inspire other people to see these magnificent projects that are happening already, and hoping, you know, to see that built upon.
Well, you know, one of the problems, and the reason I asked you to come on the show, is that no news is good news. You know, so the newspapers, understandably, media, are pretty much about murder and mayhem, and we don't get a lot. We don't get a lot of cheerful stories. Although we saw that yesterday, 60 Minutes did a thing about the Kielburgers and their whatever it's called, with the children. You know, the work they do, that's wonderful. It had 20,000 kids at the arena. You know, quite recently here. So we don't get good news stories, but this is a good news story. I mean, you folks are really supporting and backing some terrific community work.
Yeah, and it's all across the province too. So communities large and small are benefiting from the funding.
Yeah, let's take a look at one of these projects. Okay. This is, I can't remember what award it won, but maybe this will show up in the video. But here's a little short piece, ladies and gentlemen, of a project over in Victoria, I believe, called Pembroke Mews, and the piece speaks for itself.
Victoria's vibrant job market has employers constantly in search of new talent. However, with high housing prices, both employers and the community say a serious lack of affordable housing is one of the main barriers to hiring and retaining good employees. When local landowner John Knappett wanted to develop an old warehouse in a way that helped the community, he was introduced to the Greater Victoria Housing Society. Together, we created the plan for Pembroke Mews. The development transformed the property into a 25-unit rental housing project targeted at lower-income working households. Many of them are young people at the start of their careers, and with more affordable rent, they can focus on building their lives rather than just making ends meet. The ground floor has been developed as new commercial space, which John Knappett owns. Pembroke Mews, a $4.5 million capital project, was financed by a wide range of public, private, and foundation partners. Our partnership between a private sector investor and a nonprofit society is a model for others who want to provide quality housing to meet local needs. We are pleased that Pembroke Mews is contributing not only to more affordable housing, but to meeting the needs of an important sector of the labor force.
So that's a very lovely looking project. You know, the units aren't huge, but they're brand new and they're modern and they're lovely and they're in a good setting. Now, just to be specific, you didn't give a grant to those folks, nor did they win a prize, but they were, what, a finalist?
They were a finalist in this year's Land Awards.
Yeah, so somebody nominated them, somebody in the community looked at this and said, hey, that's a great project.
Exactly. Exactly, and there were lots of partners that we have worked with in the past. If you saw the signage with CMHC and BC Housing, and we've done a lot of funding with those organizations. Again, quite often along the line of research for, what are the needs and gaps for like housing affordability. Yeah. Especially for that, and it was a really interesting project, I thought, because we were looking at workforce housing, which is an area, especially in these high. Areas like Victoria and Vancouver where housing affordability is difficult for
Yes.
either seasonal workers or those in the hospitality industry, for instance. It was great to see them address
And
that
it's
issue.
not all Vancouver or Lower Mainland. I mean, I was sitting next to me at that banquet was the Sherry Green, I think, the mayor of Prince George.
Yeah.
And she was representing a project that had been nominated, didn't win a prize, but it was a terrific project.
Yes. Yeah.
So some of those projects look like they're sort of mapping and planning things, less than actually building a new project, but they're projects that study where we should go.
Well, you know, we always look at the basis of sustainability is knowing where you're going. So you have to know where you're starting from.
Yeah.
And those mapping projects, that's what they start. And we do fund quite a bit of mapping or putting that kind of knowledge base down so that communities, large and small, don't go off half-cocked trying to solve problems and they're not even aware of what the issues are.
Yeah, without even looking at where the rivers are and where the birds are. And
exactly, tree canopies, you know, and looking at all of those inventories of what's, especially in natural resource inventories, and what's important to protect.
You know, when I worked at Langara College, I did a fun thing called Langara Cares. It was a volunteer program. And I remember that one of the kids spotted this annual shore cleanup thing that happens here, you know, every year.
Yep.
So we got the whole gang to go out on a Saturday morning, and those lovely folks who run the trolley buses gave us a bus for free, you know. Not trolley buses, the tourism buses, you know. And I know that the kids there, many of whom were from overseas, studying at Langara, absolutely loved that day. And they loved getting a sense of what one issue is, you know, in terms of keeping riverside parks clean and so on. And we took away an awful lot of garbage. One of the things I noticed in the projects that you folks were saluting, whether they want or not, is several of them involve youngsters studying and really getting to know what their community is about.
Yeah, yeah. And actually the winner of our water grant this year was a Stream of Dreams mural project in Vancouver, which again was exactly doing that, you know, having the kids involved in a project that's helping people to recognize and identify that these places they go by each day actually are, you know, there's natural habitat here.
Yeah.
There's something worth protecting here.
I guarantee you from having two kids of my own that those things stick in people's minds, because years later your kids will tell you that they're onto something that they were triggered by when they were 11.
Yeah.
We'll just take a break. Kelly Lerigny is our guest from the Real Estate Foundation of BC. Just remind you that davidberner.com is the site to go to. We always welcome your comments, except for that guy in Abbotsford. No, I'm just kidding. And also a chance to say thank you to the lovely people who help bring this program here to Shaw Community Television Cable 4. Back in a minute. The program has been made possible in part by the following sponsors. The Vancouver Courier newspaper. KCM Wealth Management. The Trial Lawyers Association of BC. One of the little-known do-gooding organizations in this community is the Real Estate Foundation of BC, taking funds that have been sitting in trust, using the interest, and putting it to work with terrific community projects. The chair of the Real Estate Foundation is Kelly Lerigny, and she's our guest. Kelly, so how many people are involved? You must have to maintain an office just to run a thing like this.
Yeah, we do have a staff
Yeah.
that operates out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
A small, brilliant staff of grants managers
Try and
and
keep-
other administrators.
What's the percentage of, keep it under 10%, 5% of your expenditures go to running it?
You know what? I
You don't
couldn't
know.
tell you.
But it's small.
Smarter people than me figure that out.
Yeah, but you try and keep it down.
Well, we have a responsibility for good stewardship, and
Yeah.
we make sure that what it costs is appropriate. Part of what we do also, like this year's budget is looking to be about $2.5 million that we're going to be giving away this year.
Right.
But the other things that we're doing in addition to funding is what we like to call pivotal connecting,
Oh,
which
sounds
is-
sexy. Pivotal
well, doesn't
connecting.
it, though?
Yeah.
But because we've been around as long as we have,
Yes.
we have amassed a great amount of knowledge and connection with lots of communities, not-for-profits, First Nations, universities, and have a broad awareness of what's happened in the past, what's being worked on now, and we're now sort of taking that function more seriously, more strategically, and putting together nonprofits with nonprofits that projects might align and match so that they can leverage funds. We've been doing a road trip each summer, going to communities all across British Columbia, taking a staff member, a governor, and our CEO,
Yep.
and going far and wide, meeting with community groups, some of our past grantees, maybe some future grantees of projects we're hearing about that First Nations, local governments, and the real estate boards, and getting an idea of where the gaps are, what's happening, where are the gaps in knowledge, where are the gaps in funding, what way can we either strategically provide funding or connect groups together. And so we're much more than our $2.5 million. Even the money that we give away, we make sure that we see that people have other connections, other sources of funding. We don't mind being a lead funder if it helps them get other funds. But we're also using the knowledge base and the connections we have to bring people together so that there's a multiplier effect.
Bringing people together sometimes can sound a little airy-fairy, but in fact, it's crucial because what happens at the grassroots level in any area, whether it's addictions or sustainability projects or whatever it may be, mental health issues, is that people work in isolation. And this little group is doing their good thing, and this little group is doing their good thing, and meanwhile there's a bank or a funder over here, and nobody knows anybody.
Yeah.
But you get them together, and some energy starts to happen,
Yeah.
and something good can pop out of this.
Exactly, and we're
Yeah.
moving much more strategically in that direction now
Yeah.
by convening either meetings, and actually the land awards is partly about that. We use that as a tool to convene people, like-minded people.
What's your
to know
take
about each
these
other.
days on CMHC and your relationship with them? Because I don't expect you to be a particularly political person, but some people over the years, CMHC used to be extremely powerfully active in funding really new and interesting projects, but especially always about housing.
Right.
And it seems to many critics that in the last 30 years, CMHC has gotten a little slack in that area. But I'm guessing that you've had good experience.
Well, only that I know that they do co-fund a number of the projects that we're also involved with.
So
I
do
don't
you have to
any-
go to them
No.
sometimes?
No, we don't
They're
have
already-
we don't have a direct connection. It's just sometimes a housing project is a natural source of
Okay.
funding for a housing society
Right.
to go to or for research. For instance, the Pembroke Muse one, you'll
Right.
notice CMHC's name was on the
Right.
the logo was there as
Yeah.
one of the sponsors of that project.
Yeah.
Now their involvement, what dollar figure I'm
Yeah.
not aware of, but I still do see their name attached to quite a few of our grant applications.
Okay, let's look at another. And I believe this project was one that did win an award. This is the Soul
did?
Food Farm,
Yes.
right here in the center of the city, right by
Right.
the two stadia, by
Yeah.
the two stadiums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, folks, let's have a look. This project did win an award, and I was there when this was announced, and everybody, myself included, cheered
Yeah.
because this is an amazing little piece of work. It's called Soul Food Farm.
Soul Food Farm is a social enterprise that transforms vacant urban land into street farms that grow artisan quality fruits and vegetables. Our mission is to empower people with limited resources by providing jobs, agricultural training, and inclusion in a supportive community of farmers and food lovers. Our model addresses some of the most significant challenges of growing large amounts of food in North American cities: contaminated soils, paved land, and high land values. Our system isolates the growing medium from polluted soils, allows for food production on pavement, and can be moved on short notice, supporting the needs of landowners and developers. In 4 years, Soul Food has transformed 4 acres of brownfields and unused parking lots. Our farms now provide a credible model of production urban agriculture and jobs for 25 people from Vancouver's downtown east side, many who face barriers to accessing and maintaining traditional employment. Our employees are often managing addictions, mental health challenges, homelessness, and material poverty. The farm supplies over 30 Vancouver restaurants and 7 farmers markets with high-quality organic fruits and vegetables. We have also donated over 30 tons of produce to local groups for their meal programs. Through Soul Food's growing network of farm sites, we are feeding our community, providing meaningful employment, and marrying innovative farming methods with concrete social goals. We are changing the way cities participate in their own food security and modeling how marginal urban land can feed people and provide jobs.
So when folks like this win a real estate foundation award, other than the sheer joy and whatever, do they get money? Do they get some special prize?
Oh, bragging rights.
Bragging rights, yeah. But
well,
it's
by
beautiful.
the excitement of the winners, we have really seen that they consider this quite a privilege to be nominated, make it to be a finalist, and certainly to win. We have seen organizations use the videos on their own websites, and probably as a way to leverage future projects, which we're hoping that they can do. With Soul Food Farm, actually, we were involved at some level with a project before called, the acronym was BOB.
Bob?
BOB.
Okay.
Building with Business.
Oh, yeah.
And we funded a coordinator for a few years for that, and they had begun this project of Soul Food Farm, inner city urban farms, and some other urban farming projects in the city. So indirectly, we had started some seed, no pun intended, funding and some stimulus for these projects.
You can't say seed funding in the state of Washington because it takes on a whole other meeting.
Not those kind of seeds.
People are now, I don't know if you know this, they're tearing up their Nexus cards so they can make a point of stopping at the border, because now when you go over to the state of Washington, the border guards give you a joint.
Oh, how nice. Very hospitable.
I just made that up. So this kind of project, food in the city, the urban food kind of project, it seems like a very Vancouver thing, but it's also, it seems to me it's a very coastal thing. It's the kind of thing you're going to see all up and down the North American coast. You're going to see it in the eastern cities. I wonder how much of it happens in Middle America and Middle Canada.
Well, one of the other finalists was a greenhouse in the Kootenays,
a
community greenhouse project that was tied to David Thompson Senior Secondary School. The students were using the produce for their culinary program at the high school.
That's great.
It was an award winner in other aspects. So it's still, regional local food.
Yes.
I know it feels very West Coast on trend, but we are seeing it in the rural communities too, whose food security probably is at a higher risk.
But also that Soul Food project, that farm, is amazing because it's temporary. It's on sort of borrowed or gifted land because whoever owns that is going to be building. I mean, somebody tried to build a casino, which was voted down, but there's going to be lots of high rises and businesses. That whole thing will be developed just like the whole of North Falls Creek has been developed. So here's a sort of temporary thing, and I hope it's going to find a new home when the work starts, when the building starts.
My understanding, the plan is that we can pick up and go in a very short period of time to other vacant land.
Yeah.
And because the soil doesn't have to be prepared, it can be placed on top of pavement, even on top of contaminated soils, and grow healthy food, then it can be moved. I mean, that was the whole point. It's not just for that one site, but to be able to move it to other sites.
Yeah, and the other thing that has to be stressed about a project like that is that 17 or more people who probably had almost or little or no work from the downtown east side, it's not just that they found work. They found this thing that all human beings have to have, and that's called purpose.
Yeah.
And they got into something and excited about something that was positive and healthy and purposeful.
Yeah. It has just such amazing spin-offs. And, you know, I don't think, as the award winner said, it wasn't really his intention to save the world when he started this, but
Yes.
I think he's getting it a little bit at a time anyway.
Yeah. One guy, one idea, enlists a few other people, gets it all going.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have less than a minute. Ed Begley was fun.
Oh,
good speaker.
What an
delightful guy.
Amazing human being. Humble, funny.
Yeah.
Just what we needed.
No
actually.
notes. No notes. Just rattles
real.
off his experience of, he is sort of Mr. Green in his community, in the movie community.
Yeah, he's living
delightful.
it. He's living it.
Yeah, well, you are too, and it was great. Kelly, thanks so much.
Thank you, David.
Really appreciate
Thank you.
not only your being here, but appreciate the work that the foundation is doing.
Great. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks. All right, folks, that's it for this show. Next week, I think this is, I can't remember, it's our 67th or 68th show. For the first time ever, we will have a repeat guest. I've invited back Dr. Brian Day from Canby Surgery Center. He's the guy, who wants private surgeries to be able to be legal and so on. Amazing, tragic story. Why is Waleed paralyzed? You'll see. You've seen a bit of this story, I'm sure. Young man who had to wait a year and a half for surgery, and a result, it's a disaster. He's paralyzed now. In any event, thank you so much for being with us. DavidBerner.com, the site to go to, and we're glad you could join us here on Shaw Community Television Cable 4. Good night.